Alright, Atlanta Westside, here is a quick YouTube video on how to park for your first day coming to Westside service at Boyd Elementary. We just pulled off onto Johnson Road. We were on Rockdale Street. Rockdale Street, as you know, is where the overflow parking is. And now we're heading south on Johnson Road. And as you can see on the right and the left, there's bike lanes, which means there's no parking on either side of Johnson Road. So you should expect to get ticketed or towed if you do park on Johnson Road, so please avoid it at all costs. There are a very limited number of publicly available parking spots around the Boyd Elementary community. Again, we expect 80 to 90% of the congregation will be able to park on the Boyd campus on day one, but that's why we have Rockdale Street as an overflow parking, as it's a public road where we will have security guards and a parking team volunteer and a van running back and forth to help you navigate that. What you've been able to see on the right here is the West Highland community. This is a private community with private roads. You can see here at this stop sign on the right, this is Habershall Drive, Habershall and Johnson. Habershall is a public road, but we do not advise that you park on this road, as it is highly residential in nature. It's sort of vague where you can and cannot park publicly. And you can see we're pulling up on Boyd Elementary right now. So on your first Sunday at Atlanta Westside service at Boyd Elementary, you're gonna pull in right here into the entrance. You're gonna be greeted by a parking volunteer in a yellow vest right here by this sign. That volunteer is gonna help you move down. So what you're gonna do when you see this parking volunteer is you're basically gonna keep going. They're gonna instruct you to keep going as far back as possible into the parking lot. So what you don't wanna do is you don't wanna just pull up at the first spot and park right over here. We wanna be able to fit as many cars in the most intuitive way possible. So you're gonna come over here to the left side of the road. And you can see there's a number of cars here parked already, as it is a school day. You're gonna see a couple of volunteers. So at this point, you're gonna see a volunteer on your left, sort of where that orange cone is, and a volunteer on your right, near where that police car is. Where you see this truck, this police car, and this third car, that's basically gonna be our drop-off zone, where you can drop off passengers that may be in the car with you, and you know, that you may then go find another parking spot, but you want them to have sort of quick access to the building, because the front of the school is right there, and our worship service will be right in that room. So this area right here that I'm focused on is our drop-off zone. Now you can see to my left that this area is actually where we would describe the reserved parking will be for families with young children, for newcomers, and for handicap parking spots. So if you don't identify as being in one of those categories, please do not park in this reserved parking spot. There'll be a sign here, and there'll also be a parking attendant, basically where this orange cone is, to help you identify and help you decide whether or not you should park there. And we're going to encourage you to park such as these cars are along this sort of arm of this parking lot. But I'm going to keep going through here, not parking in the reserved. So you're going to see a parking volunteer continuing to flag me, because what you're trying to do is we're trying to park the cars from the very back to the very front, not sort of in this rather chaotic way that you see on a normal just midday parking. We want you to park from the very back so that every car is parked essentially nose to tail on the right side of the road. So we will be parking on the right side of this main road at Boyd Elementary, but this is not going to be the first place that you try to park. So you're going to see parking volunteers in the yellow vests, and the orange flags. They're going to keep waving you down here, and there's actually a right coming up right over here. So what's going to happen is you're going to see a parking volunteer basically right there. That parking volunteer is going to direct you, assuming this lot isn't full, is going to direct you down to this lower parking lot. So we just passed the upper parking lot. This is the lower parking lot. And this area will be coned off once it's full, but for now, essentially what you'll do is you've got these 19 parking spots that are pretty normal, the white lined off parking spots. There's 19 of these. So if you're a volunteer on Sunday mornings, this is going to be the first place that we want you to park. We want you to come to this lower parking lot and grab some of these designated parking spots with the white lines, just to make it really clear. No matter how large your car is, it'll fit in one of these standard spots. So park along here if you arrive before parking team members are here. But about 9:15, parking team volunteers will be outside ready to help you out. So now we're coming up on what is essentially the very back of what we consider parking. And if you can see the parking system in front of me, this is exactly what we want to avoid on Sunday mornings. If you look at this parking situation, this is not very well organized. This is just people sort of parking wherever they could find a spot in sort of a nose-to-tail circular way. But there's plenty of turnaround room over here. The way we're actually going to prefer to park you is going to be vertical. So if you turn every one of these cars at a 90-degree angle, we could park closer to 20 to 22 cars in this area versus parking the mere it's like 7 or 8 in here right now. So anyway, that's more spots for our congregation to be able to park on Sundays. So hypothetically, instead of parking just like this sort of natural way of parking right here, I actually would have pulled in vertically to where I would go into a spot and back straight out of a spot. The goal of our parking system is that everyone will be able to exit or enter their car at any given time during the service. So let's say that this whole circular area, which is the very back of what we consider our parking operation, let's say this fills up. We want this to fill up first. The next thing you're going to be directed to is to basically park along this edge. And again, we've got the designated parking spots up on the left here. We're coming back out of the back parking lot. So we want to be able to give this red car in the very end of this designated parking, we want to be able to give that car room to be able to get out. So essentially you want to stop the nose of your car at this tree right here. So we can park along the side, but this area that you see in front of me from this tree forward, you want to avoid that. You don't want to park behind this row of cars. You want them to be able to get out. Let's say they need to leave early in the service or something. You want them to be able to get out anytime. And so let's just be conscientious of one another in that way. So I'm going to keep going down because I'm not going to park on this road, or I'm not going to park behind these cars. And a parking volunteer is going to continue to flag me down. And again, I want to pass this last parking spot over here because I want this car to be able to get out at their own freedom. So I'm going to keep going down, and a parking volunteer, when this lower lot is essentially full, I'll be at the very end of this lower lot entrance, and I'll be the last car here. And as you can see, I'll have easy access to the exit over to my right. And you know, essentially then this 40 to 46 spots that are in this lower lot will be full. And you can see Boyd Elementary over there to our left. There's a sidewalk, so just a pretty quick walk over there. And then the next thing we're going to direct you to do, once this section right here is full, we're going to advise people to start parking with the very next parking spot is going to be at the end of this main road on Johnson on Boyd's Main Street, approaching Johnson Road. So we're going to do one-way traffic. At this point, you would not turn left, you would turn right, because we want people to park the very end of that and then sort of back into one another in such a way. Form a line all the way down on the right side of the road, parking only on the right side of the road all the way down. And the way that system will be easy is basically you'll be parking from, instead of having to parallel park, you'll just pull up to a spot and pull behind a car. You'll be able to put your car in park and get out there, and the next car will park behind you, the next car will park behind you. Okay, so parking volunteers, again, will be there to help you throughout this experience, but let's say Boyd is full, and the parking volunteers have already told me that, but perhaps I drove all the way through this main Boyd Road because I wanted to drop off a passenger in the loading zone. So now I'm going to take a left and head back north on Johnson Road Northwest, and what I'm going to be doing is looking for my very next right. Now your very next right is where Rockdale Street is going to be, and that's where this video started. So Rockdale Street is going to be that public road that has overflow parking with a security guard and a parking volunteer there to help you as well. And there's going to be a van, the Paul Kids van, 15-passenger van, that's going to be running back and forth from that Rockdale Street, roughly every 5 to 6 minutes. So, if you want to wait in your car, you can wait in your car. You can get out. The van will pull up, and you'll just sort of hop on, just like you do for any of those other dozens of times you guys have ridden in vans to get anywhere. But again, this is Johnson Road. We're heading northwest on it. Got a little bit of back up here. Avoid these gentlemen. Thank you. And it's it's a 0.8 miles from Boyd Elementary up to Rockdale Street, so it's only about a 2-minute drive, pretty quick. Van ought to be able to zip back and forth pretty quick. But please be patient, and we encourage you, as we've been saying the last few weeks, please try to arrive 15 to 20 minutes earlier. We expect a little bit more chaos than normal in these first couple of weeks, as we're all learning new systems and trying to bear with one another and be patient. So we really appreciate that. And you can see here on the right, I have now come to Rockdale Street. It was the very next right turn available to me. So you can see there's Rockdale Street, very lovely property there on the right. And this is Rockdale. This is where, don't park in front of that fire hydrant, because as we all know, you get towed for that. But this is a public road, so park here along the side. There'll be a security guard stationed here from 9:30 in the morning until 1:30 in the afternoon, so you can take your time getting back to your car. You don't expect this lot to be needed before 9:30, but again, 9:30 to 1:30 p.m. there will be a security guard here with the ability to pretty much watch nearly all of these cars from this sort of vantage point up on the hill. But I may just say I'm gonna pull right in here, park, and as you can see, it's a pretty big road, pretty wide road, plenty of parking. You can park on both sides of the road. Just try to avoid, there's a couple of no parking signs in front of these two businesses right here. I would just avoid parking in front of those. But aside from that, Atlanta Westside, that is your guide to your first day of parking with our services at Boyd Elementary. We can't wait to have you and invite you to experience what the Lord's doing over at with Atlanta Westside over at Boyd. So thank you so much for watching, and I'm Jackson Harris. Please reach out with any questions about the parking system, either at jackson.harris22@gmail.com, and you can find me on CCB, but I would be happy to answer any questions. Shoot me any phone calls, and I'll probably be driving a van near you at the upcoming service. Thank you so much. Bye.